Alright, so here we go. Yes, a lot going on with Starfield today. And when I say a lot is going on, I mean a lot. As you can clearly see right here, this is a hilarious video from Muzapan. But yes, we have a massive UI inventory management overhaul. You're going to love this, and you're definitely going to want to install it. And finally, the community is figuring it out. Starfield appears to be like a fine wine. Haters are converting themselves into believers. But why is this? Why does it seem to take players so long to get into the game? And is there actually something Bethesda can do to fix this? And this one thing is incredibly annoying about companions. We have to talk about it. And a warning: do not use fast travel or risk missing out on key aspects of the game. And one aspect of the game that needs a complete rework, we'll dive into that. Bethesda, I hope you're really taking notes on this one. And you won't believe how quickly someone beat Starfield. Did they do it in 6 hours? How about 5 hours? Nope. They actually pulled it off in an incredible amount of time. It's pretty incredible. And Starfield on Steam Deck isn't any good. We're going to take a look at that as well. But I got a question for you all right here. How many hours you all got? So we have Chloe Grace Moretz, who says, gotta admit, the amount of Starfield I played since its release is verging on not okay amount. So I'm curious, open up your Steam or whatever if you're playing on Xbox and let me know how many hours you guys have played so far. Now, this is what I really wanted to talk about today. We're going to start out here. Now, follow me through the entire thing here. It says, I redesigned Starfield Inventory UI. This is freaking awesome, and I really hope that modders bring it up to this level right here. In fact, I hope that Bethesda officially does something with the inventory management. It seems like to be a very, very hot topic, of course, and for good reason. But yeah, we got to talk about things you could do right now to really improve that inventory management, because yes, we have this one released today. Check it out. StarUI Inventory mod is out right now. Let me tell you what, this will change the way you play the game for the better and make it so much more improved. And we have some sneak peek here. It says better category listing is a part of the mod. We also have sortable columns, more data, and a compactor. Also, yes, mass transfer an entire category as well. And that's not all. We have many optional columns are available too. And don't forget about, yes, you can configure this mod any way you like through its INI. So it's very flexible. It's something that I highly recommend, and I think a lot of you will make use of it permanently. And again, I really hope that Bethesda takes a look at this sort of thing and considers to officially support the game with a better inventory management system. I think that definitely needs to happen. Also, we got to talk about this one right here. Is it just me, or is the game getting better the more you play it? So many people whined about the game when it came out, but it's starting to really open up. And this is something that I was waiting for and curious about. In fact, we have this post right here. It says, the more time I spend playing this game, the more I revoke my earliest criticisms about space travel. It says, early on, I largely agree with the reviewers about how the somewhat superficial aspect to the ship flying and space travel impact gameplay. But now that I have played the game for a solid 15 hours, I 100% revoke my earlier criticisms about space travel. While it's true that initially the system as is does take some of the wow factor away, I actually prefer the convenience of just fast traveling from the surface of one planet to the surface of another planet in another star system, as opposed to having to take off for the 50th time, fly to another system, fly to another planet, land, sell, buy ammo, take off, and head back. I realized this when doing an outpost where I ran out of med packs and bullets. The fact I could basically fast travel to a merchant in New Atlantis and fast travel back in 15 seconds was a good thing. It has completely changed my mind on this. Now, hold up, because I will have a post here that is telling us why you should not fast travel. A very interesting counter post there. Now, it says, because of the fact that this is much more of an RPG than a space sim, there are going to be many times in the game when you just want to sell your crap, restock, and get back into the action, and having to manually fly all the way back and forth would be super duper annoying and disruptive to the game flow. It was hard for me to see this without playing it for myself, but it was the right decision I now firmly believe in. Let me know how you guys are feeling about it after playing for X amount of hours. I know that earlier in the game, at least for me, I had a little bit of difficulty getting into it. And then again, like he said here, it really started opening up. In fact, we have another thread here that says this. The turn this sub has taken in the past 48 hours is massively satisfying. Goes on to say, it turns out, as many discovered over the weekend, that Starfield is that rare gem of a game that just keeps getting better, richer, and more satisfying as time goes on. Many of the issues that seemed glaring in the first several hours of the game either faded away or were revealed to be a part of a game world and play loop that was far more thoughtful and complex than was at first apparent. For me, Starfield just keeps getting better. I keep on discovering new things, from massive systems down to tiny details. This is a gorgeous, awe-inspiring experience that is far better at hour 35 than it was at hour 5. From the bottom of this beleaguered gamer's heart, thank you, Bethesda, for making this labor of love at Astra, and happy Labor Day, everyone. Yeah, so it's good to see that, again, people are getting into the flow of things, but it does make me wonder, could there be improvements to the beginning section of the game, those first 10 or so hours? In fact, we have this from Forbes. It says, Starfield should buff its initial off-putting hours. An interesting take here from Paul Tassi. So let's go ahead and get into this one, shall we? It goes on to read this. It says, while Bethesda no doubt has patches planned to fix bugs and such, my advice to them would be to smooth out the transition. The current situation goes well beyond the usual, well, at the start of the RPGs you have nothing tradition, as the game is actively doing itself harm in multiple ways, where some light buffs could really help things without making the game any easier as you continue to play. It's just about making the beginning less abrasive. Here's what I would change. So let's go ahead and get into this list, shall we? So yeah, it goes on to say this right here. Buff baseline carrying capacity. Far and away, one of the biggest complaints in the early hours of Starfield is being over-encumbered, perhaps a tradition in Bethesda games, but really, really bad at the start of the game. Even with the 100 kilogram carry upgrade with one weapon for each wheel slot and 1 to 2 sets of armor, I'm practically maxed later in the game. Eventually, you can start storing stuff in large ship cargo bases or at bases, but before that, I see no harm in a baseline encumbrance upgrade, of at least plus 50 kilograms, leaving the other future upgrades intact. I 100% agree with this. Now also, let's talk about oxygen buffs. I know that oxygen is stamina in this game, but it's too unforgiving, especially when you are forced to literally run everywhere while exploring a planet's surface. I would implement a baseline oxygen total and CO2 recovery buffs to make this a little less bad before future upgrades help further. And the oxygen upgrade perk requirements need to be like 20% of what they are 120 hours into the game, and I have not hit the final one yet. Wow, yeah, totally agree. I feel like the stamina needs to be changed because one reason, there's no vehicles, Like he said, the only thing that can really get you out of using your stamina is if you are boosting around using your jetpack. But yeah, that needs to be far more forgiving in my opinion. Next up, we have Buff the Frontier, your first ship. Without question, the biggest brick wall I hit at the start was ship combat. What I learned later is the main reason for this is that your ship is terrible and it's easy to get shredded like paper by even at level enemies. I would give the Frontier baseline damage and shield buffs, which will still make it miles away from other ships, but less horrible for those early fights. I would also consider making lock-on targeting and ship thrusters available by default, not upgrades. That would be cool if they did that, of course, but I also feel like it's on purpose to force you into the ship building mechanics and to experiment. So I think that's probably the reason it's designed as is. Also, it's scrolling up here. It says develop city maps at least. My God, this has to be in the game eventually. While I understand that perhaps Bethesda cannot make topographical ground maps for every procedurally generated zone on planets, their maps for cities, nothing but a scatter of icons without context, are the single worst in-game maps I've ever seen. At the very least, the biggest cities like New Atlantis or Neon need some sort of map showing not just how to navigate from one second to another, but also where vendors are. I got lost for half an hour just trying to find the real estate office in New Atlantis once. This is a longer term project, clearly, but a necessary one. Yeah, I really hope that Bethesda comes out with some sort of blog post and says, hey, you know what? We're going to be adding in local maps, at least in the main cities. That would be huge. I think that'd be such a big game changer for the game for sure. All right, finally we have this right here. Far more tutorials and explanations. So it says, it is stunning how few systems are actually explained in this game, often by a tiny pop-up window with half a paragraph of text that then disappears forever. Huge essential things in the game are barely explained or not explained at all, like scanner, fast traveling, or waypoint. Floor arrow tracking, shipbuilding and base building, cargo storage. Just so many things are glossed over, and everyone has to flock to YouTube for answers to extremely basic questions. So yeah, they need to flesh out those tutorials for sure, and then have them like permanently somewhere within a game index, or you know, where you can actually track it and be like, oh wait, how do you do that again? You pull that up. All those details are there in some sort of library of information. But yeah, overall, I think those are some great points there, and hopefully, again, we have some sort of quality of life improvements coming here through an update or patch. Remember, there is apparently, it's looking like at least, there's some sort of patch update coming for Starfield very soon, at least from what I'm seeing from what they're doing on Steam database. Done some videos about that in a previous video, check it out. But yeah, we gotta talk about companions, because they have been, for me personally, somewhat frustrating to find the companion that I'm trying to jive with my character's personality, because I'm kind of playing like a, I would say, morally gray character that likes to steal stuff, that likes to deal with the gangs on Neon, that sort of thing. Check it out right here. It says, they're not wrong. I can't do piracy without someone nagging me. And it says, can I have a token evil teammate, please? Because every major companion in Starfield is a straight edge loser. In Pathfinder, you can have a serial killer girlfriend. In Baldur's Gate 3, you can be the serial killer girlfriend. And SF, every time I even think about doing something bad, it's real. And he gives an example of Andre here. And that's kind of like practically every character kind of looking at you going, yo, what are you doing here? And it kind of surprised me and threw me off that nearly every companion is like morally just about everything. I just don't think that's how it would be. I was just hoping that maybe we would have a companion that was on the same page. You know, hey, this is how you can survive in the wilderness of the universe, as I would say. Also, yeah, we got to talk about what I mentioned earlier in the video about why you should not be fast traveling in Starfield. Check it out. It's an interesting counter argument. It says, don't use fast travel to teleport from planet to planet. It says, at the start, I was doing this for convenience, but I was unknowingly missing a lot of the game's content because of this, so I would just fast travel from the surface of one planet to a location I've already visited on a different planet, even in a different system. So if you're on a planet, go to your ship, get into the cockpit, press takeoff, and then when in space, select your destination by pressing X on the controller and allow the cutscene to play and arrive at your destination. Don't teleport, fast travel directly to the landing point. Travel to the planet's orbit first. Likewise with grav jumps, do it and go through the cutscene. This allows for all the random encounters in space to occur, and honestly, some of the best stuff I've experienced in the game has been because of this shift in play style. I know it's a bit more work, but you're missing out on a lot of encounters if you just teleport everywhere. Take your time and the game will reward you. Personally, I think it's more immersive this way too. It feels more like a journey. So yeah, I had a random encounter from what he is saying here that ultimately took me on what I thought was at first going to be a very boring mission. It seemed like, oh yeah, deliver this package. It ended up being this long winding thing where I discovered, I'm not going to spoil it, but yeah, I discovered some cool stuff from that. Highly recommend that you guys at least try it out every now and again. Make sure you're actually exploring space. I know that it's addictive going in there, exploring the actual planets themselves. But yeah, space is actually a big part of this game as well. All right, next up, we have this. I got to talk about it. Check it out. It says, can we talk about the food for a second? Why is it that eating this many sandwiches would only heal like 1/4 of your health. For me, this is the most infuriating thing. There are so many food items and different products in the game that you can pick up that tell you, oh, this heals you plus 3 health, plus 5 health. And then you do it and you're like, it's doing like practically absolutely nothing, and you get so much clutter in your inventory. I think it would be cool to buff these, to really make them matter a little bit more. Let me know if you guys disagree with this or not, but there's just so much of it. And it seems like you have to like eat tons and tons, and I just think it needs to be buffed a little bit more. Also, we have this one right here. Bethesda, please increase the range at which you can initiate conversations. I want to stand on the other side of people's desks when I talk to them. Yeah, great point here. I've noticed this as well. Also, I want to be able to sit down when I am talking to some of these characters. I've noticed that there are several moments in the game where I want to sit down at like a meeting spot, and I cannot interact with the character, you know, in front of me. It's so strange. I have to get up from the table and then stand right beside them, which is, you know, counterproductive to having a chair there. It doesn't make any sense. But yeah, I wanted to highlight some really cool ship builds here. Check it out right here. It says, proud of this beast. Look at this monstrosity right here. That is absolutely insane. Again, if you guys have any cool ships that you have built, cool bases, or hilarious character creations, funny moments, what have you, send in your Starfield gameplay. I will fully credit you. I plan on doing some really cool videos in the future. Excited to see what you guys do there. But yeah, someone also found out about this right here, that ships can, yes, block rainfall, leaving the ground underneath dry. Really nice detail. Yeah, you know, the level of detail in this game, for me personally, is insane. They've really pulled off something impressive, also considering the scale of the game as well. And get this, yes, someone has already beaten Starfield in less than 3 hours. This was from a speedrunner. That is insane. It comes from Microologist, I believe it is. Now, it usually starts out with these games where someone does what seems to be impossible, and then someone just tops that, and it keeps going and going. So I'm kind of curious to see where this goes. Also, yes, we got to talk about the Steam Deck. Starfield on Steam Deck gets mixed reception. This is an interesting one. So if you're wondering, should you get a Steam Deck for Starfield, which actually would be pretty fun to be able to like sit on the couch and chill and enjoy Starfield like that. I might try it, who knows, but I don't have a Steam Deck right now. Anyway, it goes on to say this right here. It says, during the footage, you are seeing the game with all the settings set to low and a 30 frames per second frame lock option turned on, but some dips will be observed. Now, ETA Prime hopes that the dips he saw will be ironed out. Moreover, he reckons some settings will be able to be lifted to medium in due course, as they kind of improve this, of course. Now, it says, continuing his overall positive opinion on Starfield on the Steam Deck, ETA Prime summed up that it is currently not a bad experience. Realistically, most will also probably agree that it's only going to get better from here. In our viewing of ETA Prime's footage, we noted that the lowest FPS dip was to about 16 frames per second, which is pretty rough. They also go on to mention in this article that the roughest spots was definitely New Atlantis, and yes, that mods such as the DLSS mod, there's performance mods, do enhance the experience of Starfield on Steam Deck, because I think Steam Deck could potentially be a very cool way to play Starfield in the future if you just want to chill and try it out. All right, so we got to go over your top comments from my previous video, which was this one right here. The Starfield updates are getting absolutely wild. Scroll on down and see what you guys had to say, shall we? So I did ask you guys, what would you rate Starfield out of 10 right now? And let's expand this one right here and see what it says. 9 out of 10 because it's Skyfield, and I loved it. I love that comment. I thought that was perfect. That describes it for me 100%. It's pretty much like Skyrim, but in space. Because I don't know, some of us are only playing it on the 6th. LOL. We have another 9 out of 10. Whoa, we have a 6 out of 10. But I'm in the minority. Most of my friends are enjoying it. I wish I could. What is wrong with you, Nathaniel? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, to each their own. You know, you have your own score. Then we have this UK Monk who says 22 hours in and a 9 out of 10. Well, we have a 100 out of 10 once the Dead Space and Aliens mods come out. of the oven. Don't have it, but from the dozens of videos I have seen, a 7 out of 10. So he's trying to rate it from what he has seen. Okay, interesting. Then we have, I'm only 25 hours in, but as of right now, it's a solid 8 out of 10. Really having a blast with it. That's reasonable. I can see that. Mavin Games says 9 out of 10. Very fun. If I can enjoy 1994's Star Trek TNG on Sega Genesis back in the day, this is a freaking masterpiece. Exactly. I totally agree with that one. All right, so let's get into more comments here, shall we? So we have Lighter Path, who says multiple biomes is a reason to scan planets. It's part of the instructions within the game. 100% agree. So get to it. And then we have, I figured that emergency door out as well. You don't need to use a cutter, by the way. You could shoot the pins as well. So yeah, cutter not required. And we have this one. I think we definitely get a launch update. The game is already great. The updates can only make them better. Agree 100%. Unless they start nerfing things like another game I can think of. No, I'm just kidding. I don't think Bethesda would ever do that. And we have Sleepy D, who says, I just started my New Game Plus, and while you lose everything, the drop rate for better items is higher, traders have more credits, and new stories. You'll find new creatures and aliens, humankind, and new ships, factions. It's not your normal New Game Plus, but I like it a lot. I've been hearing mixed opinions about New Game Plus. And I've also discussed it with my bro Ryan, and you know, I myself, it's tempting to do that, but I'm just so attached to my weapons and the gear and the ships, you know, and the wealth I've acquired. How can you give it all up? I think it's the ultimate test of what you're willing to do, you know, with New Game Plus. This is definitely one of those New Game Plus things that's very different, and it's going to be divisive for sure. But thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned for more news and updates about all things Starfield. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please leave a like if you did, and I will see you all next time. Take care.